recognize them even if they didn't play drums. So if I were to play something like this, you know immediately that that's the intro from Rock and Roll from Led Zeppelin 4. Or if I played this groove, you know that that's the opening groove from Immigrant Song off of Led Zeppelin 3. These types of grooves have Bonham's signature all over them, and as history has proven, they've really stood the test of time. Here's a few other classic Bonham grooves that you may recognize. The last one we'll look at is from When the Levee Breaks, one of Bonham's most famous and probably most debated drum grooves of all time. Take a quick listen to this. So, when they recorded this groove in the lobby of Headley Grange, they used 2 microphones mounted about halfway up the first set of stairs. They compressed the drums like crazy and then ran everything through a Binson Echo Rec delay device, which resulted in the classic affected groove that you hear on the record. Now, without any effects, this is the groove that Bonham actually played on that recording. And if you don't believe me, I challenge you to go do some of your own research. Here we go. Now, when Bonham played the song live with the band, he would still add in the kick on the E of beat 1, which you hear produced by the delay on the record, and he'd also add in some ghost notes and other embellishments as well. So we're talking about John Bonham, and we have to talk about his legendary drum solos. On record, there's only 2 that were released. Moby Dick from Led Zeppelin 2, previously known as Pat's Delight, and Bonzo's Montreux from Coda, which was released a few years after Bonham passed away. But when Zeppelin was touring, Bonham would do a 15 to 30 minute solo pretty much every single show while the rest of the band took a break. And these quickly became an audience highlight early on for Zeppelin fans.
We'd do the Moby Dick intro, then he'd start playing, and he'd go through everything. He'd be doing complicated rhythm patterns, it's his chance to have some fun.
So Bonham had a standard outline for his solos, but what he would play each night was always different. He would start with sticks, then move into playing with his hands on the kit, sometimes even including some congas, which he usually had over on his left side. And then on tours where he had a pair of timpani, he would do an entire section using those before ending the solo with sticks again. So to start, let's look at some classic Bonham ideas that he would use in his solos and also in his drum fills as well. The first being his signature Bonham triplets. So then he would move that idea around the kit in a whole bunch of different ways, but the most famous is using crossovers like this. Another triplet-based idea that Bonham would use all the time, and especially in the recorded version of Moby Dick from Led Zeppelin II, was one based on the single-stroke 4 rudiment, often called bucket of fish, which was right, left, right, kick. Bonham was a fan of jazz drummer Max Roach, and this was a melodic idea that Max used quite often in his jazz playing and in his solos. So who knows, maybe Bonham actually picked this idea up from Max in the first place. The idea sounds like this. Sometimes he played this idea exactly like that around the kit, but oftentimes he also worked it into a 3-beat phrase, something you can hear him do quite often in his solos and also in his drum fills. Here's one of Bonham's drum fills from the song No Quarter off of Houses of the Holy, where you can hear him use this idea in a 3-beat phrase. Moving into the second part of Bonham's solos, he usually started playing with his hands instead of drumsticks. Check out some of these moments from solos he performed in 1970 and in 1977. Pretty crazy what he could do during this part of his solo, and in that last clip you even saw him use a set of congas which he toured with in the early 70s, and that gave him a nice contrast in pitch compared to his low-tuned toms. The third section of his solo is where he started using timpani. He started touring with these around 1972, so over the years his solos continued to evolve based on the gear that he was touring with. Check out this clip of Bonham soloing with the timpani to the left of his kit. So that's pretty crazy, right? It sounds like they're hooked up to some kind of synth or phaser or something like that, but all he's doing is rapidly adjusting the pitch of the drum using the pedal on the timpani. And this was just another way he captivated the audience during his drum solos. A John Bonham drum solo was a work of art. It was a display of technical ability, dynamic control, spontaneous creativity, and different textures ranging from sticks to hand drumming to timpani and even strikes of the gong. This idea of exploring different textures on the kit is something we also see Bonham experiment with on Led Zeppelin recordings like 4 Sticks, where he's literally playing with 2 sticks in each hand. The Rain Song, which is a rare occasion of Bonham playing with brushes. And also In the Evening, where he's heard playing timpani during the intro section. So we've made it to the end, and I hope you've enjoyed diving into the history and drumming of John Bonham. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What is your favorite John Bonham drum recording or Led Zeppelin song? Inside of Drumeo, we also have the entire Led Zeppelin discography transcribed note for note. So if you want to learn more about any of these songs,